Welcome back to the Dorm Room Politics Podcast. My name is Justin Fisher.
I'm Nolan Flaherty.
And I'm Austin Vertine. Today it's the Dorm Room Politics Midterm Elections Pregame Show with the fate of the country at stake.
We are 1 day away from the 2018 midterm elections. We're going to be having a pregame today on the Dorm Room Politics Podcast. We're going to be covering all the important information. And today we're actually joined by Student Government Association undergrad Senator Alex Kinney here at University of Illinois Springfield.
Yes, very glad to be here. Honored to be part of the Dorm Room Politics Podcast. One day I'm going to put this on my resume because you guys are going places.
Thank you so much, Alex, and we're happy to have you here, especially with your experience on a campaign. You had to campaign for the undergraduate senator position here at UIS, and we want to get your perspective on how your campaign went, because we know a lot of times political campaigns have just been washed, and a lot of wrongdoings have gone through, a lot of misinterpretations of candidates throughout the years. So we want to know how your campaign experience went, and give us a little bit of feedback about that.
Absolutely. It was very interesting because what I learned through my political campaigning season when I was campaigning for myself was that everyone tosses their brain out the window when there's a campaign going on. And there's a $200 spending limit for student government campaigns on this campus. I think I spent a total of $12 on my campaign. But I was constantly reported, or people tried to report me for spending violations because I had a Snapchat filter from my friend. It was an $8 Snapchat filter. People thought it was like $200. I don't know. It was just interesting to see how angry people get when you found something, a way to look better than them in a certain way. And it's not that I was a better campaigner. It's that I made friends with the right people who helped me campaign. And both of my opponents were great guys, and it was the most hotly contested race on campus. But ultimately, I think it really does come down to who you know and not really what you do.
And I wish that was more of the case when it comes to our politics today, about making connections with people and really having politicians reach out to us as a community. But a lot of times we see that political ads can often misrepresent a candidate, which we really don't want to see, as we want to see policy over partisanship in terms of elections. And we want campaign ads that make sense to our people.
So we've actually heard a couple of pretty funny political campaign ads. Some of them have happened in primary. Some of these candidates weren't necessarily important candidates. But nevertheless, I want to share some funny ones. So first, let's share the one that was probably least important. Let's plug in Don Blankenship's political campaign ad. I forgot. What state was Don Blankenship running in?
He ran
West
for
Virginia.
West Virginia.
All right, so he's running in West Virginia. All right, let's hear him.
Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
I mean, so it's a pretty funny ad to see. It's actually pretty hilarious that this guy was actually running for Senate. I mean, this guy literally killed people in a coal mine for not following regulations. But it's certainly not limited to other pretty hilarious comedic campaign ads that we've seen.
Yeah, one of my favorites this campaigning season was in Minnesota with Richard Painter's Inferno commercial. Check it out.
Some people see a dumpster fire and do nothing but watch the spectacle. Some are too scared to face the danger, or they think it will benefit them if they just let it keep on burning. Others shrug and say, "Oh, all this talk of a dumpster fire, it's just fake news." There is an inferno raging in Washington. But here in the land of 10,000 lakes, we know how to put out a fire.
I am Richard Painter, and I approve of this message.
Now, what you didn't see in that ad was that there was a giant fire behind Richard Painter while he was... It was a dumpster fire, right? This guy's a law professor at the University of Minnesota that ran for Senate. He did not win the Democratic primary, so unfortunately we don't get to see more ads like that.
So the final ad that we want to show you is, of course, between J.B. Pritzker and Bruce Rauner, the candidates for Illinois governor. And it shows a marital relationship between J.B. Pritzker and Mike Madigan, a top Democrat in Chicago. So give this one a listen and see how you like it.
Repeat after me. I, Mike Madigan, take you, J.B. Pritzker, as my unlawful partner in destruction, to raise property taxes, corrupt government, and bankrupt Illinois' future.
Done. Deal.
And I, J.B. Pritzker, take you, Mike Madigan, to honor and obey till death do us part.
Always have, always will.
By the power vested in me, I now pronounce Illinois.
Mike Madigan and J.B. Pritzker, an unholy union Illinois can't afford.
So now we've had our fun by listening to stupid political campaign ads across the country. I want to actually dive into this pregame. So I think the best method that we can do is maybe look at local elections, gubernatorial elections, move up to the Senate, and then move up to the House of Representatives, because that's definitely the most contested races. So what is the Illinois gubernatorial election looking like for Bruce Rauner versus J.B. Pritzker?
So the governor race between J.B. Pritzker and Bruce Rauner is looking increasingly more like Pritzker is going to run away with this, actually, by double digits. According to 538 and Nate Silver, Pritzker has a 10-point lead in the polls, so it is not looking good for Bruce Rauner. Over the last few days, we've seen a few ads that have been run by Bruce Rauner. It seems like a late push, but it doesn't look like that's going to help him at all.
So right now it looks like in the state of Illinois we're going to have, of course, a Democrat majority in the General Assembly. We have a couple of local Republicans in the Sangamon County area that are going to take the dub. We got Mike Murphy that Alex and I are campaigning for. Avery Bourne is going to win. Is most likely going to win. But overall, we're going to have a Democrat majority in the General Assembly in the state of Illinois as usual, and we're most likely going to have a Democratic governor. So if we look at not just Illinois Senate races, but Senate races across the country, I think we see some pretty contested races.
So right now the Senate's at 52-48 in favor of the Republicans. There's two independents, but they caucus with Democrats. Now, the unique thing about this midterm is that a lot of Democrats are actually seeking re-election, and a lot of these Democrats are coming from red states that voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So it's like the Democrats can't really get to that majority in the Senate because they're having to defend their positions more so in states like Missouri and North Dakota and Florida and Indiana, all these toss-up states that have key Senate races that will determine how big of a majority the Republicans will have and how close that the Democrats can really shave that right now. 538 says that there is a 1 in 7 chance that the Democrats will take the Senate, so it's not looking likely that the Democrats will, that this blue wave, mind you, will go into the Senate.
Well, it's interesting to see if this blue wave is actually going to be reality. I think it's really weird to see North Dakota, Missouri, and Texas all be candidates to turn blue in these upcoming elections. And it's interesting to see that J.B. Pritzker is pretty much blowing Bruce Rauner out of the water. In terms of this governor race within Illinois, it actually could be the worst loss by a governor since 1948. Rauner is really just being smacked by Pritzker in the upcoming election. But, Alex, I want to get your take on this, as we brought you here for a reason. And who do you think should control the Senate in the upcoming midterms?
Definitely, I am a pretty pure conservative. I pretty much voted straight ticket Republican, and I would like to see the Republicans maintain majority in the Senate, and it's looking pretty good in that way. One reason I think there has been so much confusion about who's going to win and whether this blue wave will be more of a purple ripple is because so many of these polls we've seen, so many polls released to the public have been generic polls, and there's no such thing as a generic election. So when you have just who's going to win, Democrat versus Republican, I don't think it really works that way. And that can really discourage people who would otherwise vote for a specific candidate over just a party. And what we need to remember is that the government in America is very partisan, but the people in America might not be as much. And that makes it hard for polls sometimes to accurately predict unless it's specific to the candidates. And so people might get discouraged to go vote if they see polls overwhelmingly against them, when in reality those are generic polls and might not be as actually reflective of what people think.
Well, we saw in 2016 that, Hillary Clinton was projected to win 93% to 7, according to the New York Times on Election Day, and that was clearly wrong, right? I mean, we saw this shocking result, right? So I think there's the highest level of distrust of polls I think that we've seen in a long time. I think from both sides. So I think what I've seen is that Republicans are not trusting the polls right now that says that there is a blue wave that's impending, right? So I think there's been that that and a few other things in the news, like the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and also the Honduras group of people that are coming into America.
The migrant caravan.
Yeah, the migrant caravan. I think that's almost rallying Republicans, as well as Donald Trump going out there. Credit to him, by the way. I mean, he was in Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida yesterday, and today he'll be in a bunch of other states
He came
as well.
to Carbondale recently, had Rodney Davis there and Randy Hultgren as well.
So he's campaigning his ass off right now, but if I'm a Democrat as well, I'm not trusting the polls either because they fucked me in the ass last time, right? So if I'm a Democrat, I am not complacent at all, and I think that if I'm a Democrat, I need to tell my friends, my family, my gumars, my whatever, right? Go out and vote.
And one thing I would like to say, I do think the Democrats are going to take the House, and it is going to be a very slim chance that Republicans maintain a majority there. I just don't think it'll be as much of a landslide victory as some polls are indicating. And, we'll see what will happen, but I think a lot of people, like Austin was saying, on both parties are distrusting the polls and just are going to go vote and ignoring them.
Well, I think it's crazy to see that Brett Kavanaugh may have actually helped the Republican Party, and that it sort of rallied this, strong base of Republicans who might have thought, look, we might not have to vote, we're going to be good in our district, but they want to stick it to the Democrats and make a statement by voting red. And we'll see if Kavanaugh and all the things going on with the Honduras immigration end up actually affecting the poll.
I think that the Kavanaugh hearings might have been a little too early, right? I think I think the news cycle is
That's
going
true.
faster than
People
ever.
have forgotten.
People have forgotten about the Kavanaugh hearings. They haven't forgotten about the Honduran caravan, and they also haven't forgotten. Just today, we'll be hearing from President Trump soon about sanctions on Iran. Right? He sent out this Game of Thrones like tweet: "Sanctions are coming." Right? So we'll hear about those in a little bit.
I think that was just kind of like a delayed response to policy that we already knew was coming. I mean, the Iran deal was rescinded, so I think we were going to see these sanctions soon enough. But you're right. I do think that. I mean, we've seen a lot of Republicans at the polls that were really angry about this Brett Kavanaugh hearing. They were really upset with how Brett Kavanaugh was treated by the Democrats, and I mean, rightly so. But you're right. The news cycle really moves at the highest speed possible. So a lot of voters are not hearing as much about Brett Kavanaugh, and honestly, they got a short-term memory loss, so they've forgotten. But I think the migrant caravan is really being covered a lot by the president and by a lot of Republican
Trump
candidates.
isn't letting anyone forget it.
And I think that's going to be a driving factor for Republicans coming to the ballot.
My question is, in regards to this caravan, though, is that I think it's something that is dividing the country when it doesn't necessarily need to be dividing the country. I mean, if these people get even to the United States, God, they should be, given cookies and milk when they get here, right? This is a very hard trip, right? And they're going through areas of areas of Mexico that aren't the safest places, right? So the people that are right now walking, right, that are in this caravan,
Are they actually walking? Like, how is this logistically happening?
I don't know if they're walking, if they're
Yes.
taking. Is it a
It's
caravan?
a long march.
It's a long
footage.
march.
It's how many people? It's like 5,000-6,000.
They're still 1,000 miles from the border, a lot of them. It's hugely
the president
exaggerated.
is activating National Guard across the country.
It's somewhat ridiculous. He's kind of stirring people up, I think.
I mean, it's a good political move, right? I think a lot of Republicans are really angry about the migrant caravan, and I think it's going to get a lot of them.
It's
to
inflammatory, but it's not necessarily ineffective. I think it's definitely making people think twice about it. And what I think it's showing is that Republicans do take immigration seriously, and the majority of Americans think there is a problem with the way our immigration system is going right now. And Trump is using this to his advantage, showing that the Democrats aren't taking this as seriously as the American people. And I don't think either party is really right on this, because the Democrats seem to act, a lot of them seem to act like, oh, there's no problem at all, and then the Republicans act
Beto
like,
O'Rourke refuses to answer the question, right?
And then the Republicans are acting like it's a crisis of global proportions. And really, I think it's somewhere in the middle, and there is a fix if we just work together and find a middle ground.
I also think that context is important, nuance is important, especially in this case. I do think that the Republicans have been winning on the issue of immigration, not just since Trump was in, but I think for about a decade, 2 decades now, right? The Democrats actually used to be a little more Republican light on this issue. There's a lot of old footage of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and other Democratic figures that were calling for extra border security back in the 2000s, right? But we've seen this switch in rhetoric on both sides, right? But I think in the case of the Honduran caravan, right, I don't think these people are necessarily immigrants. I think they're more looking for asylum, right? And I think that's a completely different issue in regards to policy, politics, and then the legality of it as well.
It isn't illegal for a person to come to the border and seek asylum.
There's a legal way to do it, yeah.
So I mean, obviously, these are pretty hot topics that are going to get Republicans and Democrats alike to the ballot. I mean, if we run down the list of governor's elections, I mean, we have one in Florida that's pretty contested. The Illinois one is going to be blown out of the water. The Senate is most likely going to be Republican. But the House is actually, there's about a 6 in 7 chance that the Democrats take a majority and a 1 in 7 chance that the Republicans keep their majority.
80% chance that the Democrats are going to take the House. We're going to focus on Illinois on this podcast because House races can be kind of tricky to talk about because it is so regionalized. So there's a few Illinois House races that I really want to talk about, and we're going to start in the 14th district where we all live, right?
Our home. Oh, yeah.
And it has been Randy Hultgren's district for quite some time. Right?
Love him.
But recent polls are suggesting that the district is leaning Democrat with the contestant Lauren Underwood, who is a nurse and worked for the Obama Health and Human Services Department. She is actually leading in the polls right now. So it's going to be
crazy.
It's going to be very tight, right? This is usually a pretty red district.
The 14th district is, I mean, historically has voted Republican.
Randy Hultgren has been their man for 6 years now, I think.
But he was there before, right? Because Bill Foster won in, I think, 2008, and then he got ousted in 2010. So Hultgren has been in there for a long time.
I think Lauren Underwood is really energizing the younger unit of voters within that district. We actually reached out to both of the candidates to try to get them on a podcast a few months ago. And Underwood reached out, but obviously she has a busy schedule. She's been busy trying to campaign and trying to beat Randy Hultgren. So we actually weren't able to set up the podcast, but she was very willing to talk to us and try to set it up with us, but it ended up logistically not working out. But she's definitely seeming to energize the younger population of voters, and the Democratic Party seems strong. She had Joe Biden actually go through and endorse her at a recent event, so I mean, it's a pretty big deal in terms of the Democratic Party.
What is Joe Biden? He's just a citizen at this point. It's like me endorsing Lauren Underwood. It means nothing.
I mean, I think Joe Biden has more clout than you, but
it means nothing. What is his position?
All right, back in the day in that district, right? Old Denny Hastert, right? He was in charge of it, right? And Denny Hastert got caught touching little boys while he was a gym teacher at Yorkville High School.
Not even just touching little boys. Denny Hastert was a sexual predator.
He was a sexual predator, but while he was the Speaker of the House and a representative in Washington, he brought a ton of money into the district, and there's a lot of places in that district that are booming right now economically.
And people love them. I mean, there was a park right in front of the Oswego police station called Dennis J. Hastert Park, and they actually had to take down that sign a little bit after. So
he went to West Aurora High School,
graduated from Oswego High School.
Really?
Yeah, I think he moved and he ended up graduating from Oswego High School. No, it was really funny. I mean, obviously they were taken down by the time we had gotten into high school. But before we had gotten there was a lot of pictures of Denny Hastert all over the walls. And, I mean, right when the accusation came up, it was all stripped down and everyone wanted to try their best to forget about Denny Hastert. No, it was definitely an unfortunate situation.
Illinois breeds corruption.
People talk shit about pork barrel spending. Sometimes it's a good thing. I'm sorry. Like it'll bring money into a district. It'll revitalize a district, right? Like it has some of its benefits.
Ideally, you're supposed to be advocating for your district, right?
Absolutely, right? I don't know what necessarily is wrong with pork barrel spending. I guess when you abuse the pork barrel spending, right, then we get into an issue where it becomes fishy.
Yeah, it's oftentimes where pork barrel spending is kind of like... It's oftentimes where pork barrel spending, where the money is going into their district, sure, but oftentimes there's corruption tied with it, so it eventually gets a negative connotation. But anyway, working our way back to contested House races, specifically here in Illinois, not only is Randy Hultgren predicted to lose his seat, we also have a couple more contested House races, specifically a campaign that Alex and I are working on. Rodney Davis is expected to win the election, but it's a little bit more contested than people were expecting.
Very close.
Right now it says that Davis is leaning, it looks like he's up by 2 points against Betsy Dirksen Londrigan, whatever her name is. Londrigan.
Nice lady, we met her.
Right. Yeah,
she's not a nice lady. I don't like her.
I mean, you can like her or not like her.
She always wide-eyed.
It's not going to affect
She always got her eyes wide open.
I mean, politicians are a little different than normal people, so what can you expect?
And in the 6th district, we have Sean Casten and Peter Roskam, and it is a complete toss-up in this district. This is around the Naperville, DuPage County, Will County area, and the incumbent is Roskam, and Casten he has been the Democratic nominee before in this election, and he has lost on multiple occasions, but maybe this is his time. Nolan, you have more about this.
Yeah, so Roskin was first elected in 2006. He had represented Bourbon Chicago District alongside Naperville, but it's been shifting left, especially in 2016. And now Lauren Underwood is actually from Naperville, so a lot of that area is starting to shift a little bit left. So a lot of times, like big politicians like Hillary Clinton has helped shift this area.
Hillary's been pretty quiet this election cycle, don't you think?
A little bit.
Well,
She's
she
kind of
said
here and
something.
there.
Well,
What'd she say? She said we can't be civil to Republicans.
Yes, she
That's
she's
one
only
of her
said
gems.
that to CNN.
Well, here's what I think. I mean, I think it sort of depends on the agenda of the party. Is Hillary Clinton the future of the Democratic Party?
She's still publishing books on why she's won.
That's cute.
And she's making millions off it. I don't blame her.
Well, it's like 2 book deals.
She's going to run again. She's going to run again.
I don't get why she can't internalize it, right, and stay in the fucking woods, all right? Nobody wants to hear Hillary talk.
Dude.
Bill,
just retired.
Have I seen Bill Clinton out there? Not at all. He
you
knows
know that
his
one
time
video
is
of him
past.
staring at Ariana Grande?
Yeah.
Other than that, that's about it.
That's about, yeah, we haven't really heard from Bill Clinton or Jimmy Carter, right? I would love to hear from Jimmy Carter, right? I just don't know if he's able to.
The dude is like, what, 90-something now?
He has like mental problems too, like dementia, I believe.
Jimmy
I think
Carter?
the Republicans have done a better job campaigning than the Democrats in terms of having
You
bigger
got Donald
politicians.
Trump. You got Mr.
Anything
Celebrity
the man
himself.
says, the news media follows for 24 hours.
The dude is a master campaigner.
Maybe it was a master plan to put this guy in power. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's been a success for the Republicans, but as we know, blue wave on the horizon. So
I think
we'll see.
All right, I have a prediction. Okay,
Hit me with your prediction, Justin.
it's a little bit of a hot take. Okay, the Democrats are most likely to take the House. All right, Nate Silver is a genius. Okay, I can't argue with Nate Silver. All right, but I think the fake news media and the Democrats released this idea of the blue wave a little bit too early. A little bit too early. I think that if they released this idea of the blue wave, sometime in October, maybe late September, then I think we would have inspired Democrats to get to the ballot and vote. But because they did it a little too late, or a little too early, I think the Republicans are worried that the Democrats are going to take the House. They hate Nancy Pelosi. Don't even go into a campaign office and say her name. All right,
you say
everyone
Nancy
goes
Pelosi in
nuts.
front of my grandma, it's a no-go. It's over.
People start crying. It's horrible.
Lord Voldemort.
So I think a lot of people are worried about Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, and I think a lot more Republicans are going to get to the polls or get to the ballot and vote than we're anticipating. I think Kevin McCarthy is going to take that speakership.
Ooh, I don't know.
So you just said that the Democrats are likely going to take the House, but you just backtracked at that and said the Republicans are going to take the House.
I'm saying realistically the Democrats are going to take the House, okay? But if my theory is correct...
Optimism.
Right, because
my theory is correct.
I have to
Kevin
say,
McCarthy will be the Speaker of the
Republicans
House.
are a more reactive voter group than Democrats.
This is definitely true.
This is facts. We've seen it time and time again, especially in the last 10 years.
Civic engagement, baby.
Right?
GOP.
But like the Republicans, they do not back down on anything, right? They are going to say what they want to say, and they are not going to apologize for anything, right? Too many times the Democrats have to apologize for saying stupid shit, right? Like, they just need to, if they get caught out with a lie, just keep repeating the lie.
That's what Trump has done for him, yeah.
Right? Like, just say it, okay? And you don't have to correct the record all the time, right? You don't have to be, you ever meet that person that always is correcting you, right? Well, actually, the capital of Ohio is Columbus, It's like, who gives a shit, right? I felt that same way with,
the people of Ohio care.
That's what I felt about...
All 12 of them.
LeBron James would be very upset about what you just said.
Okay. He played in Cleveland, not in Columbus. Anyway, like with Elizabeth Warren doing this heritage Native American thing, right? That's like that. That was like that to me. It was like her. Actually, I am 5% Native American. It's like just say you are.
I think it was like 1 in 1,000
1,056 or something.
Yeah, like it's just say it and just don't back down on it.
I'm more Native American than Elizabeth Warren.
A Jeep Grand Cherokee is significantly more Native American than Elizabeth Warren.
These are just facts, Alex.
It's pathetic.
These are facts. All right, I'm going to get some predictions, right? This is a part of the pregame show where we start to take our picks, right? So we're going to do some toss-up Senate races, right? We start in Texas, right? Between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz.
Not a toss-up.
Who you got?
Not even a toss-up. Ted Cruz is taking the
We're
dub.
cruising to the Capitol.
You put that man in the ring. Beto O'Rourke, there's 2 hits. Ted Cruz hitting Beto hitting the floor, all right?
Listen. I can't disagree with you guys, okay? I really do think that Ted Cruz is going to win this one, probably by about 4 to 5
Beto's gonna be back,
points, right? But Okay, it's like an underdog coming in, right, and going into a home stadium and right, giving the favorite, a real tough time, right? They've had to punt all game, right? They've 3 and outs all game,
for sure,
and then they finally grind out a victory. And I think we have finally Beto O'Rourke on the map, right? Hot take. I think he's a secret 2020 Democratic candidate that could win and beat Donald Trump.
He's not going to beat Donald Trump,
He's
but
going
he
to
is
run.
possibly. He is possibly.
The Democrats now have
candidate.
him in their back pocket. He's going to be their little ace
I think
of
he's going to lose in the primary to Michael Avenatti.
But
oh my God.
Just saying, it's
he
possible.
has gotten insane airtime because of this election.
He's a good speaker.
In Florida, the incumbent Bill Nelson is running against the Republican governor, Rick Scott. Who you got?
Rick Scott.
What a surprise coming from Justin Fisher.
I know.
Right now, Bill Nelson has an average of a 2-point lead right now over
Wasn't
Rick
that where
Scott.
we had that situation? I think Rick Scott went on TV and said enough monkeying
That was
around.
DeSantis.
That was Ron DeSantis
Oh,
against
okay.
the Florida Democratic candidate.
I got really confused.
Yeah, Andrew Gillum, who is...
So was that like in the primary? What happened there?
No, this is in the governor race, where Ron DeSantis said something about stop monkeying around.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And
okay,
Andrew
okay.
Gillum just happens to be black.
Yeah, that was.
So
It was unfortunate
it
all
was just
around.
bad taste, bad,
I don't think it was intentional, but it was poor.
just poor optics, right?
Yes.
All right, we move on to Arizona, right? I know nothing about these two candidates, right? Kyrsten Sinema, the Democratic candidate, she's worked in the House of Representatives at the state and federal level, and then Martha McSally, the Republican.
I think I've seen an ad with Martha McSally, and it's like an elementary education level ad. It's her talking about Donald Trump and how much she loves him for a couple minutes, and at the end it says Martha's plan: vote with Donald Trump and secure our borders. And it was like that was it.
So
America.
Kyrsten Sinema is kind of an interesting story. She's actually a former Green Party member, so she's sort of a more
Does she have colored hair?
take that how you want it, but she is not. She's joining more of a Democratic Blue Dog coalition.
Okay, so she wants to win. I
So yeah,
understand.
she's definitely
She wants a seat.
Good
yeah,
for her,
she
good for
wants
her.
a seat, but definitely a more center candidate within Arizona. So might not be a bad option. I'm not sure what each of those brings to the table, but it'll be interesting to see where
I mean,
it
Blue
goes.
Dog Democrats are basically conservatives that support unions. I mean, that's pretty much what I get out of it.
Pretty much.
So I think if Arizona's going to vote Democrat, I think this is the best candidate.
Now, here is the Democratic incumbent race that has Democrats fearing, and it's in the great state of North Dakota, right? We've seen a lot of great job growth in that state, partially due to fracking. Actually, not partially, majorly due to fracking.
Drill, baby, drill.
I love it. Oil,
Frack,
oil,
baby,
oil,
frack. Weirdly, with North Dakota, they haven't had the same earthquake problem that Oklahoma has had with fracking.
Because it was a coincidence.
It might have been. There's that fault line in Missouri, though.
Fracking does not cause earthquakes. Okay, fracking creates jobs. Period.
I used to live in Missouri. There was an earthquake. It was wild.
Wild. Is it because of fracking or?
No, there was no
There's a
fracking
giant
in
fault
Missouri.
line that could decimate the entire Midwest.
That's really upsetting.
LOL.
Hey,
I've
at
seen
least
it
Justin
on the
will have
Weather
his oil.
Channel.
At least
Amen.
Justin will have his
Oil
Amen.
everywhere.
That's all I want. I want to bathe in it. Climate change? I haven't heard of her.
Only gets oil and vinegar dressing. This guy right here,
That's
Justin
not
Fisher.
true. Okay.
Alas,
And a
Heidi
diverse dressing
Heitkamp
choice.
is on the verge of losing her Democratic spot in the Senate
Oh, I'm
to
surprised.
Kevin Kramer, the Republican incumbent, who's
Oh, this
up
is the one where Donald Trump has gone there, 8 times now?
probably, right? This is the chance for the Republicans to pounce on it. They smell blood, right? And like sharks, they're coming for it.
I think Trump just hates being in the White House. He goes golfing every other weekend, and he's fundraising for Republicans every other weekend.
Maybe he's a little bored.
Yeah,
He
must-
enjoys an occasional rally. You know?
I think so.
The West Wing, it's historical, but let's be real, okay? You're in there for 7 days a week.
It's no Trump Tower.
Yeah, you start to go nuts.
All right, well, we talked about this on last week's podcast, Alex. I'm going to get your take on it. We were talking about the MAGA bomber, okay? And some of the influences that led him to do that, right? And my point was that Trump's rhetoric, I know Justin hates to hear this word, rhetoric, but Trump's rhetoric influenced this man to commit to
You can't see
sending
me, but
bombs
smoke is
to
coming out of my
Democratic,
ears.
to try and decimate the Democratic Party.
Well, it's interesting. That's a big debate right now. Speech being equated with violence, and I'm not sure you even exactly equated it, but just speech causing violence. And I think you have to go back to what rhetoric is, and rhetoric is simply speech with an intended purpose. I don't believe Trump's intended purpose with all of the loony things he says is for some psycho to go mail bombs to people. But that isn't to say that Trump doesn't say stupid things. It's just that Trump doesn't intend for horrible things to happen from
My point exactly.
And I also think if someone is that mentally unstable, I mean, you saw the guy, I forgot his name, but the guy who sent all those bombs to the
Caesar
Democrats.
Sayoc.
Weird guy.
Embedded in my head.
There was going to be
Sayoc.
There was going to be weird things happening with that guy in the
man.
future, no matter who is president. And
Amen.
he just used Trump as an excuse. Trump might have riled him up, but that's not to say that he wouldn't be riled up from anything. So I don't think you can blame Trump. I don't think Trump is always the best person to talk, but
I would agree.
When the identity
He's a pretty
of
good campaigner, though. Let's be honest.
his rhetoric is not intended for that. You can't blame something. I don't blame Bernie Sanders for that loon going and shooting the congressional baseball team, or trying to. I think
We
that
almost
guy was
lost
just
our
crazy.
guy Rodney Davis there.
Yeah,
We almost
Rodney
lost
Davis
him.
escaped. I just think people are crazy and they do crazy things no matter who says what.
Okay, we can agree to disagree on that.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know, we did talk about that last podcast. I just wanted to get your take on it because I do feel like it's an important discussion to have regarding, the role of politicians in our lives, and it seems like they're getting a more increased role in the lives of us. We identify more and more with political parties and particular candidates than we ever have before.
I will say, I don't know. I think it's dangerous whenever someone starts, I'm not even saying Austin exactly did this, but just when some people equate speech with violence, I don't think that's a safe game. You can tell a 5-year-old which is violence, punching someone or saying go punch someone. And incitement to violence is a real thing. I don't think that's what Trump did, but the two things you still have a choice whether you go and commit an act of violence, no matter if you were directly incited to do so. And it gets pretty dangerous to talk about this in short little sound bites, but yeah.
I feel like it's sort of an uncomfortable topic that we talk about in regards to at least Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when we're talking about maybe in regards to foreign policy, right? And with Islam, right? I feel like we almost have the same sort of conversation, right? The role of rhetoric and violence, right? And the role of speech and violence. Because a lot of these people that become terrorists, they often are radicalized, right, at local mosques. Wahhabism is spreading all across the Middle East.
In that case, then rhetoric was clearly an implication.
Well, then it does go back to the intention of what was said, and,
Like, I do think, though, that the intention of Trump's speech, when he's talking about CNN sucks, the enemy of the people, right, fake news, right?
These are facts.
It is creating a distrust between Americans and their press, right? And it's not to say
Distrust was always there.
It's not to say, right, that there's no cause for it, right? Like there's no reason for it. Because let's be real, CNN sucks, right?
Amen. Amen.
Facts.
They suck. Fox News sucks. MSNBC sucks.
Tucker Carlson is pretty good.
Big Tucker guy.
I am not
I
a
like
big
Tucker
Tucker
Carlson.
I'm
guy.
not a big Tucker guy,
Love him.
right?
Hilarious.
Justin Fisher is Tucker Carlson.
I just
20
really,
years
I
earlier.
don't appreciate that resting bitch face he has.
Very true. Very true.
These are just facts.
He has a weird haircut.
All right.
I love him.
But I just want to recap exactly what we've covered here. We've gone off on a little bit of a tangent.
My bad.
It's okay. It's important content. All right. So Senate, GOP, all the way, baby. Stay in red. Grand old party, right there. House, I believe it's going to stay with the GOP.
He's not correct. it's going blue.
All right,
Every
all right.
governorship.
Senate is actually Republican. According to the best people with statistics in our country,
Yes.
the Senate is staying Republican. The House is unfortunately going to have Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker with a blue majority.
She who shall not
I'm
be
shedding
named.
tears. I'm shedding tears. Illinois is going to be a Democratic machine with J.B. Pritzker.
Bring back
as
the machine,
governor.
baby.
right,
Let's
just-
get this bread.
It's going to be so interesting coming up, guys, with the election just tomorrow. Politico has said that there's 28 toss-up races throughout the country, so it'll be really interesting to see where the election takes us as a country.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. My name is Justin Fisher.
I'm Nolan Flaherty.
And I'm Austin Vertine. I want to thank Alex Canay
Yes.
for being on our podcast. He is not up for re-election tomorrow. I think in next semester he'll be up for
If
re-election.
I seek re-election, we'll see what happens.
All right, and we want to keep everybody posted on Alex Kinne's status as the undergraduate senator in the UIS student government as well. Be posted as well, because after Election Day, we're going to have a post-game show as well.
I'm excited.
On Wednesday, where I will be rubbing it in Justin and Alex's faces that a blue wave has come all across this country. So, thank you for listening. We do have some news regarding our platforms as well. We have been added to Spotify and iTunes, so we are on more platforms than ever, right?
To the top.
Slowly but surely, we will be going up to the top, because we want to challenge you, the listener, and we want to hear back from you, the listener, as well. So, Pod Save America, look out, because we're coming for you.
Dormer Politics to the top. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.